So now let's talk about your career a little bit. You were you had a marketing firm. You were
right. I was a teacher first, and I left teaching and I worked in public affairs for the Kohler Company, a big manufacturer. And
Kohler is in plumbing.
Yep.
Okay.
Plumbing, and engines and real estate.
Okay.
And big.
I knew the plumbing end of it.
Yep,
My father was a plumber. So
okay. Yeah. And so while I was working there, I was doing banquets with my puppets. And it's funny because I always wanted to get into trade show work with Kohler. Well, while I worked there, I could never, they just wouldn't do it. It's one of those where you have to move 50 miles away to become an expert. Mm-hmm. So I moved, I took another job at a public relations firm in Milwaukee. And shortly after I moved and took that job, Kohler hired me to do a plumbing trade show, the National Home Builders Show, big one. And it went pretty well. And then I did that show for them for about 4 years, I think. Okay. And while I did that one, I started picking up other clients and doing trade show work. And trade show work is hard. There are long days, but you learn your trade really well because you're standing almost all day with your puppet. So I was doing trade shows and banquet work when I was working for another firm. It worked pretty well. Then, you want to hear this whole story?
I want to hear this because I'm actually going to ask you some questions about the trade shows then.
So then, one of my clients that I worked marketing for, wrote for, was J.I. Case Company, and they had just taken over Harvester. And they were having a big problem because there was, in many cities in the country, there was a J.I. Case dealership and a Harvester dealership, and the J.I. Case Company had to send people in and decide which one of those is going to go and which is going to stay because they're going to go together. So, and they were, in many cities, family businesses, so they had to go in, evaluate them, figure out which one was best, and then say, you lose. And they were just out of business. It's hard. So they would send in attorneys, accountants, a whole team of people, and it was a very depressing job to have to do this because you're putting people out of their livelihoods. So J.I. Case came to me, and we were talking about this, and they said they were going to bring all these teams in together every month and talk about the problems and the issues and everything. And I said, you ought to have a puppet there, not to entertain, but to be one of the guys in the field and be in the audience and come out of the audience and talk to you, the president of J.I. Case, and talk about all the problems you're having and what are they going to do with everything. And they said, that's great. So we did that. We scripted it. Puppet comes out, I asked all the questions that the guys in the audience were feeling about, and we would fly from city to city all over the country doing these every month, and it worked really well. So from that moment on, I was with that firm about another year, but after that I started my own firm. From that time on, we probably did similar programs with companies where the puppet came out of the audience, asked questions of the president or vice president that people in the audience would like to have the nerve or the opportunity to ask. We probably did that for 50 or 60 companies all over the country.
Wow. Right.